Let me be the first guy to ask you about the quarterback situation. I know you're tired of the question, but let's get it out of the way and we can move on with some pleasantries. Where do we stand as of today with the two guys?
Well, I think, it remains to be determined in terms of what these guys do in fall camp. I got sidetracked a little bit too. It was out of spring practice. So I think both guys have created enough credibility in the program by what they've done, their performance, the respect that they have of their teammates to give them both a very fair opportunity and see what happens and see who wins the team.
Is there a leader right now?
No, not really.
Do you foresee a situation playing both of them, say for the opening game?
Well, I think it would be foolish to rule that out completely. If both guys have a chance to contribute and play winning football on our team, I think it's something that would have to be considered.
Some people say, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. You say?
Well, I would rather have two than none, which I think is our case.
Yeah. The lasting image that I'll take away from the championship game, and I'll ask you yours, but Jalen Hurts, the way he handled that whole situation, on the field, while it was happening, after it happened, and then on social media as well. I just had so much respect for him.
Well, I think it goes to show you the kind of team player Jalen really is. He worked really hard to win the team at Alabama a few years when he was a freshman. He went through a little bit of a rocky stretch, toward the end of last season. We needed a boost in the championship game, and Tua supported him all year long. And when the table was turned and Jalen had the opportunity to support Tua, he did a fabulous job. But I think that shows you sort of what kind of people, both of those guys are.
Are we making too much of the position battle? We tend to do this at quarterback in the pro game too, but some people would say that you could win probably regardless of who is your starting quarterback this coming season. How big a deal is this?
It's a big deal because I think it has a lot to do with the chemistry of the team and how the team comes together, the leadership of the team, and the confidence, that the players have in the guy that's going to distribute the ball every play, which is what the quarterback does. But we have other areas on our team that if we're going to have the kind of team that we'd love to have, that we're going to need to rebuild and is going to have to make a tremendous amount of progress that there's a lot of competition at, like in the secondary, a couple places in the front seven. We lost a lot of good defensive players, and we won a lot of games at Alabama because of the defense that we played. We only gave up 11.5 points a game last year, so that's pretty amazing in this day and age of college football.
And that's the good and the bad, right? You got guys leaving so talented, they're leaving early, and you have to turn it over again. Where on the list or level of concerns is that 3 returning defensive starters?
That's probably the number one, and nobody talks about it. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback situation, but no one talks about what we have to do to rebuild the defense, and I think that's the number one issue or concern. I don't think it's an issue. I think it's a concern in terms of how that part of our team develops.
What's the second biggest concern then?
We have a lot of new coaches, and that chemistry on our staff has been really, really good so far. A lot of new energy, a lot of new enthusiasm, a lot of new ideas that all have helped us grow as a program. But the relationships that the new coaches have been able to build with the players, which is probably the most important thing in transition, has been really, really good. All right, but now we got new coordinators, we got a new special teams coach. How can those guys take the next step in how they implement in a game, which is a whole nother ballgame.
Yep.
So that's going to be a real key for us as well.
How do you do it? How do you maintain your excitement level, keep it fresh, I guess, year after year? How do you personally do that for yourself?
Well, you know what? It's not really about me, but ever since I was 9 years old and played Little League Baseball, I hate to lose. So, and as soon as you lose a game, if you're not motivated before the fact, you get motivated after the fact. But I think I really owe it to the players. And I think it's about the players. My motivation is, can we help these players develop and be the kind of team through individual improvement, team chemistry, positive energy, work ethic, perseverance, overcoming adversity, all the things that make great competitive teams. Can we do that with this team, regardless of what happened last year? The challenge now is this team and looking forward and doing the things we need to do to help these players.
And the last two championship games have been just spectacular theater and drama. So what do you remember? What sticks out in your mind? Is it 2 years ago losing in the last second or last year in overtime?
Well, both. I mean, you're talking about one thing that is probably losing on the last play of the game is probably the most devastating thing that can happen to you in terms of winning the championship for a team. And you never want to, sort of waste that failure in terms of what you learn from it and how you move forward. Winning the game on the last play of the game, coming back, winning in overtime is probably one of the greatest moments of jubilation that I've ever seen our team demonstrate, and me as well. So that's probably the ups and downs of sports.
Jim Harbaugh's come out and said he'd like to see the playoff go to 8, then maybe 16. You've been on the record all along. And look, any system benefits you in Alabama. So I appreciate your perspective on this. But so you were against the playoff, thought it could hurt the other college bowl games and maybe the sport overall. And so anything anyone say, could they change your mind to making the playoff 8 or even more?
Well, I'm not really against the playoff being 8. All I do is bring out the consequence of doing that. Just like I said when we expanded to 4, it was going to make the bowl games insignificant. Bowl games are important to college football. I think the more you expand the playoffs, the less importance the bowl games have, and maybe they can't coexist at some point. And I think this is a consequence that I bring up. I don't say I'm for or against the playoffs. One of the reasons that I would be for the playoffs is I think eventually bowl games are not going to be able to survive if we expand the playoffs. But I also think that a lot of players are going to choose not to play in bowl games because they're going to be insignificant, especially guys that have a future. So if we expand the playoffs, those games would have more importance, right. So maybe more players would stay engaged. So
you're good here at 4, the way it is right now?
I'm good at 4 only because I don't think, and I know there's people that would disagree with this, I think every year the best teams won the championship. And I think the best teams have played for the championship. Now, there may be a team that should have gotten the playoff that didn't, but they wouldn't have won anyway.
Right.
The best team's winning. So expanding the playoffs would expand the interest, but I'm not sure we're not getting it right the way it is right now.
What's your exit strategy at 66 years old?
I don't really have one. I want to do this for as long as I can do it. I enjoy it. I love it. I don't think Miss Terry wants me at home anyway, so got to stay busy some kind of way.
Come on, Nick. I won't press you on this. I won't even. But in the back of your mind, you must know what's a right number, what you're thinking down the road for yourself, right?
I really don't. I think it's yet to be determined. I mean, how am I going to feel at 71? How am I going to feel at 75?
Yep.
How am I going to feel 2 years from now? And the thing that I struggle with is I make a lot of commitments to a lot of players who come to our place that I'm going to be there to make sure that they have the best opportunity to be successful. And it's going to be hard for me to flip on that, all right, unless I can't continue to do it. And I don't want to ride the program down because I can't continue to give my best.
Is this still fun for you? You having a good time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Enjoy it. Love it. Love competition. I love competition. I like playing golf in the summertime because there's competition.
We enjoy your press conferences. How much do you enjoy, if at all, I guess, the playful banter with the media on occasion?
I enjoy it. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the media. I mean, the media does a wonderful job of creating a lot of interest in our game for our fans and a lot of positive self-gratification for a lot of the players who get a lot of recognition from the media. But I also think at times you don't know what to ask. And when that happens, sometimes I like to have fun because I really know that this is not necessarily a great question, so I'm going to have some fun with it.
Yeah.
But I also like to message, in the media, some of the things to our fans and to our team and the people that are a part of our team, what we need to be doing and what we need to be thinking and the mindset we need to have to move forward.
All right, I have one last great question for you then. Every time you make a move or a decision is made about you, Paul Feinbaum has something to say about it. And I read on Twitter that Paul just re-signed, got a contract extension here at ESPN, and I thought you might want to comment on that.
All I can tell you about Paul Feinbaum is he asked me to teach him how to play bump and run about 8 or 9 years ago. And if I was a secondary coach and he was a player, I don't know who would get fired first.